Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and rogue matter. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture with the rogues who create it every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook.com/WeAreRogueMatter and YouTube.com/Rogue Matter. You can also find us on Twitch, We Are Rogue Matter, Twitter, Rogue_Matter, and anywhere great podcasts can be found. This entire video gets compartmentalized and cut up and edited and all kinds of fun stuff and brought out there into the world on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be consumed. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, the Emperor of Mars himself, the Lord of the Radio. You got too many names now.
How you doing? Well, yeah, that's just make sure that people can't pinpoint you.
Yeah. I
defense mechanism.
A little thing I do with my son. It's just a fun little thing where I gave him like a nickname and I just keep adding to it. So he's like Jamesy Doodle Poppin' Face Mustachio Luigi. He's up to Luigi now. So I'm gonna just start doing that with you.
Wow.
And be like,
yeah, I appreciate it if you didn't.
Hassan Godwin, Lord of the Radio, Emperor Mars, Luigi.
Potato chip.
A what now?
Nothing. Never mind.
Very exciting. We've got a great show tonight. We always do, but tonight's extra special. We took a trip to Jurassic Park, and so we've got a rogue reaction and a trailer, truth or trash. Did it live up to the trailer? Was it a good film? Was it something? It's making bank, but was it any good? But first, we do this every week. We dive into the awesomeness that is RogueMatter.com and the Rogue Matter iOS and Android app. Basically, every Wednesday, there is brand new content that hits our site, not just us, but we have Badass Babes, the podcast. That's a weekly show. That's out every Wednesday. So that is out and about right now. And this week we've got chapter 2 of the Seila Fire, Emergence. During the great UFO scare of the 1950s, a small town in North Carolina is suddenly rocked by the sounds of cannons being fired just offshore. This draws attention of both the U.S. and Russian governments and an intrepid rookie reporter looking for her big break. Can the small town police department keep control of their small town? That's when the bodies begin to wash on shore. Written and created by James Massia, covers by Hassan Godwin, and book designed by Phil Smith. Seila Fire Emergence Chapter 2 is live on the Rogue Matter site right now, RogueMatter.com, and the iOS and Android app. And if you dig it, there is a companion podcast hosted by the illustrious Bevan, the bubbly Bevan, the effervescent Bevan. I don't know, she's got a lot of energy, basically. She's got more energy than me, which makes it, which I find really hard to believe. But she talks with creator James Massia after the release of each installment, and that is live right now. Also, so you go to wherever podcasts can be found. You go to Rogue Matter on Spreaker, on Spotify. You can find it. We can find it on the Rogue Matter homepage. I think I covered that pretty good, right? That's a pretty solid Rogue Matter presents.
Yeah, I think that I'm programmed to say yes to everything now.
Well, it's even better, man. I've been waiting years for this. Holy cow.
It only works for this segment.
Got it. The corporate shill segment. You're like,
yes. Well done.
Sign my paycheck.
Well done.
I approve this.
Yes, I approve of all of it. I have read them and I love them and I love it all.
We thought you could use the get you guys primed for Seila Fire. We thought you could use some sort of comparison, a comparable. We did this last week with Time Trader. It's set in the 1950s. It's set during the UFO scare, which, by the way, is one of my favorite time periods.
One of your favorite scares of all time.
Yes,
I love a UFO scare.
I love a good UFO scare combined with a good red scare. So it's like a red UFO scare.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Like
you're talking in your entertatainment genres, though. You're not talking like real life. Like I like.
Right. I would prefer that we're all at peace and harmony, and so we could just make.
Well, I mean, it could be like I love to be in the woods, and then suddenly a gray shows up, and just it ruins my entire evening. That could have been, that's within the quirkiness that is Dolce. So I could appreciate.
Not a big Grave fan. No, not a big Grave.
No, you're
fan.
not.
I'm definitely talking movie genre.
That's why you'd be afraid.
So yeah, that's very true, actually. But, the blame's got to fall. Look, I am not of the victim mentality. If I'm walking in the woods and a grave pops up, I'm not blaming the grave for being there.
We're saying scares, man. We're not
I know.
talking about interstellar, relations with,
No,
with,
I know. I'm just saying, if I get eaten by like a werewolf or the undead rises, I'm not blaming the undead. I'm blaming myself. Like, what was I doing in that graveyard?
oh man, you're like the victim shamer, but
I'm
even when you're the
that's not
victim,
victim shaming.
you're victim shaming.
I'm victim shaming the undead.
You're victimizing yourself. You're like, you know what? If I just hadn't been here, I wouldn't be dead. That's not
True.
cool. The forces of evil killed you, man. Blame evil.
Yeah, but I would blame myself for being in these spooky woods. Like, no one ever, I mean, I make choices and they have ramifications. But again, not going anywhere near there because I like, I like my scares confined to big screens.
Okay.
And TV shows.
Yes, things that are not real. You like your scares to be
correct. Yes, I like to be like, oh, good. Let me get past the popcorn.
Okay.
Exactly.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
So I thought a good primer for this would be to discuss some of our favorite Cold War movies, and we dub this thing the best Cold War movies of all time. This is a very exciting thing, and basically, I want to go through your list and my list and see where we congruent tape. Did I make a word up? I'm trying to coin a word.
You did. You totally made a word up.
I did, right? No, that was my intention.
There's no such thing as congruent tape, but I think it.
Congregate
is
a close synonym in terms of how it sounds.
Yeah,
but I'm not.
And also, congregate it implies a location.
Congruency, strategery, coalesce. Yeah, that would have been the more accurate word, but not as nearly as fun as congruent tape.
Yes.
So one of these, look. If I'm going to coin it, I'm going to coin it right at some point.
Understood. I know. I mean, like, we're trying to break ground every episode, so I understand what you're saying.
So let's do a quick game of first thing that comes to mind. Cold War movie. Hunt for Red October is the first thing that comes to mind. Always.
Oh, was I supposed to yell the first?
You were supposed to yell back at me. Yes. Usually when I ask a question, I wanted to have some sort of response and because sometimes you'll complain, you'll be like, I'm not sure you're actually asking a question. I literally said, let's do first thing that comes to mind. What's Cold War movie?
Yeah, but I don't know what that means. Let's do the first thing that comes to mind. Cold War movie. Ice cream. Like, what am I supposed to know?
Actually, also would be accurate. Yes.
It goes, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Cold War movie? That's how that works. Because I'd be like squirrels.
How about that? Like, what's the first movie that comes to mind when I say Cold War movie?
I would have said Hunt for Red October.
You didn't know. I did it. And I wasn't even actually answering for you. That legitimately is the first movie that comes to mind in the Cold War. What's that? I like what you did there because I love Charlie Wilson's War. That's one of my favorites.
Yes,
Charlie
I know.
Wilson's War, though, I actually don't think of when I think of Cold War movie only because the word "cold" is in the title, and so it always takes me to like, Russia,
the word
like Siberia, Russia.
Oh, yeah, but that's not what the Cold War means, right?
Oh, I agree with you. No, I'm admitting that. I'm not saying it's inaccurate.
So a movie about a movie about an American congressman who cajoles the Mujahideen into, or supports the Mujahideen in fighting the Russians.
Yes.
During a time of Cold War doesn't kind of gel with you as a Cold War movie.
Doesn't come to mind as a Cold War movie if we're doing it in this format. Absolutely is a Cold War movie. Absolutely is. And in fact is a great and entertaining history lesson.
One of the better ones.
In terms of, and what's neat about that movie too is that I was very, very little. Do you know my first visual image of any of the Cold War was when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old watching Star Wars on network television. My dad recorded it for me, and they had coming up at 11 o'clock, and there was all this stuff, and it scared the bejesus out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Of stuff that was happening in Afghanistan. And I remember being kind of like freaked out by like, oh, is this going to be World War III? I don't even, I don't have concepts of it, but I knew rhetoric that people would say.
Right.
And then so flash forward, obviously, was it 20 some odd years later when Charlie Wilson's War comes out? What was it, 2007? Something like that?
I don't know. It was mid 2000s, so yeah.
Yeah,
it was a while ago.
2000s.
Yeah.
Watched the movie, loved the movie, could watch it over and over again. It was one of those movies that would always come up on HBO, and I would just, even if I was in the middle of it, I could just, keep watching it because I just found it so fascinating. And it didn't dawn on me until like maybe a few years later. 2007.
Thank you, Aaron.
It didn't dawn on me that movie is the basis for what I was terrified of when I was 6 years old. Like, kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. I remember watching a documentary on basically the Afghan War years and years and years ago, and I just remember one of those government spook guys like talking about like, we discovered that we could possibly get the Russians caught in a quagmire, just like we were caught in Vietnam,
right?
And that's basically that was kind of my way into understanding exactly what he was talking about, and then I was like, all right, we manipulated this and that, and then years later, like you said, I watched Charlie Wilson's War. I'm like, oh, this is that. They're elaborating on that particular situation. Also, like, one of the lyrics in We Didn't Light the Fire was Russians in Afghanistan, which I did not understand when I was a kid.
I couldn't even remember all those lyrics.
Yeah, well, I did. But I mean, that was kind of
I said them all, but I didn't actually process them. Do you know what I mean?
But I didn't realize the significance of the phrase Russians in Afghanistan until I educated myself on what Charlie Wilson's War was about. So,
you know what movie comes to mind and fits the visual picture that I have in my head of like the Cold War? Spies Like Us.
I have never seen Spies Like Us.
No,
I have never seen it. I don't know why.
Aaron, you're my new co-host. You're my new co-host now.
Fair enough.
That was the straw that broke my back.
I was looking for an extended vacation. I'm glad this happened.
Yeah.
Very glad this happened.
Spies Like Us. All right, unlike what movie did I give away for you last week? Limitless. I'm gonna not give away anything about this, except
it's kind of hard to. I don't know if it's a promotion. It's kind of hard to not spoil a 36-year-old movie, though. So.
Well, this is what I'm going to say.
That's like talking about like Trading Places, like with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. It's like, oh, we don't want to give the ending away. It's like, it's.
Well, no, but here's the thing. This is what I was going to say. I'm not going to spoil the movie except to tell you that it is vintage, like 1980s Dan Aykroyd. And Chevy Chase too. I mean, both of them. I mean, it is. If you were a fan of Ghostbusters, if you're a fan of Caddyshack, if you're a fan of Trading Places, it's just he was in his wheel. Like he was firing on all. Dan Aykroyd was firing on all cylinders. And it's just. I've
never seen Spies Like Us. I've never seen Fletch or Fletch Lives. Those are the three.
Fletch.
Those are those three 80s movies that every one of my friends was like, you got to see.
Wow.
And I never actually saw them, and I have nothing against them.
I've seen Fletch, actually, I have, but Fletch was like my least favorite of all those. But I understand. Yes, Fletch was the big one.
I have absolutely nothing against them. It's just one of those things I keep missing. It's like The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I've never seen.
I haven't either.
It's one of those it's one of those weird cinematic anomalies where the opportunity to see it never comes up, or when I do have the opportunity, I'm never in the mood.
Doesn't Nightmare Before Christmas have sort of a generational thing to it as well too, where you had to be like a certain age to really want to get into it back then as like a Christmas movie? Because I think I was beyond that age at that point, where like when you're a kid, you watch all the Christmas movies kind of things, and Nightmare Before Christmas obviously.
I was supposed to see that movie when I was in college, with a group of friends, and I actually something happened, and I showed up late to the rendezvous point so that we could go.
Kiddies, that's what we used to do before cell phones.
Mm-hmm. And so everybody went without me, and they saw it, and then since then I've just never seen the movie. Like it seems like that was my one window to see that movie, and then since I didn't get there then, I will never get there now.
I need you. This is homework. You need to watch Spies Like Us. Like I need you to see this because.
Oh man,
We're not actually going to talk
All
about
right.
the show.
I will watch it tomorrow. Tomorrow at noon, I will watch Spies Like Us.
You will not be
find it.
disappointed.
I will find it and I will watch it. Okay.
All right. Name another Cold War movie that you can cut.
Watchmen. Watchmen's a Cold War movie.
So this is the thing about Watchmen. Again, you're 100% correct. It is a Cold War movie. There is no other way around it. But again, because it's draped in superhero garments, it was one of those things where I was reading lists off the internet and I was like, oh, Watchmen. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. It was one of those things that just dawned on me. You're like, yeah, it is a Cold War movie. As no, but it doesn't.
Well, I mean,
doesn't
the entire
fit.
ending hinges on the Cold War, right? The
entire premise does too.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
It just it is steeped in that 80s.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of no squid in the movie, no giant squid.
Right.
But,
which you know what? I'm a defender of that. Were you a defender of that choice?
I didn't. Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, you and I had a discussion about it.
Oh, we have. I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm gonna elaborate. You and I had a discussion about it at the Palisades Mall before I went in to see it. You were coming out from seeing something else.
Yeah.
You were like, "Squid's not in it," and I was like, "The squid's not in it? What do you mean? That's terrible. How can I not have the squid in it?" You were like, "Well, it explains itself. It kind of makes sense. Squid's not in it, but squid's not in it." I'm like, all right, let me go see if this works without the squid. And that's what I said to your face. But really, I'm like, what the hell is he talking about the squid? Because I never read the book. So I just pretended like, I know the squid. That's madness. And then I went in. And I'm like, I have no idea what the squid. I like this ending. I don't know what he's talking about with the squid. So
have you since gone back and read Watchmen?
I've since read Watchmen quite a few times since then. And I understand the squid. Also, the TV show, you can't really understand the premise of the TV show without knowing that the squid, is an important aspect of it. Yeah. So yes, since then I have, but that remarkable story is one of those like
pro or anti-squid
like
now?
I'm not letting Dolce know I'm not well versed in this comic book masterpiece. So I just
Are you pro squid or anti-squid? You can't even be Sweden anymore. They're joining NATO.
Huh?
I said you can't even be Sweden anymore. Or is it Switzerland?
No, you can't. You can't be neutral. You can't.
Yeah.
For that movie, I'm anti-squid for the movie.
Yeah.
I'm pro squid for the comic.
Yeah.
Because that's a quirky weirdness that the comic book excelled in. But for the movie, if they just dropped the squid somewhere in the middle of the movie, I'd be like, what the hell? This doesn't work. So yeah.
No, that's the thing. I definitely I understood why he did it. And you know what? I'm not anti Zack Snyder. I'm actually not. I thought 300 was amazing. And I thought Watchmen was one of the best attempts at, actually, trying to adapt that graphic novel, which I think is really difficult to do. I don't think he hit it. I think he and I've said this before as well too. I think he over adapted it. Like he was too faithful. The music choices were the exact music choices that were in the book, but reading lyrics to a song and actually hearing them out loud, two different things in my, in terms of for me, like a visceral experience. But I thought he did I thought he did as good a job, I think, as you can do, because that graphic novel is so layered that it's so difficult to, capture.
From an outsider's perspective, seeing the movie first before reading it, I thought it worked brilliantly. I don't think that they could do a Watchmen today, and not have it be judged again. It's kind of like Dune, David Lynch's Dune, where it's like this big heaping mess on its own, but still a kind of a gold standard for anybody who tries to, adapt the same work and going on in the future. It's one of these things that it's a giant mess, but you cannot ignore it. You can't say that it didn't leave its footprint significantly in the landscape of anybody trying to do faithful adaptations of anything. So, I really enjoyed it. I think over the years, I think people have made too much of it. I'm not including you in that circle because, but I'm talking about like they've done like how many editions of that movie, and extended scenes and extended with the explanation, and they did one with the what was a comic book, the Black Voyage or whatever. What was the accompanying comic book in the comic that the kid was reading?
Yeah.
They've done an edition of that where that was turned into a motion comic while you're
Right.
I mean they've gone crazy trying to recoup their money off of that movie. And so I think the original film, I think taking it the way I took it when I saw it in 2000 whatever, when we first saw it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I understand there's a lot of weight to it. There's no right or wrong answer to it, but I'm more in favor of it than I am against it.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up with one more, and I'm gonna pick this one because
please.
It's a conversation we had many years ago on the previous incarnation of this podcast too, and that's
everything.
It's Atomic Blonde, and I remember we had esteemed guest Jeff Gomez on, and I believe I was saying it really wasn't much of a success, and I think he was arguing that it was a success. And now I when we were going through our lists of this, you had actually brought up Atomic Blonde. I'd seen it on other people's lists as well too, but you brought it up, so it reinforced it. And I thought to myself, geez, what's the next? The two things came up. What's the next phase of this movie? Because it wasn't a failure. I think it was like a $20 million box office haul at a $10 million budget. So, theoretically, it was a success.
In technical terms, in technical financial terms, it was a success. Yeah.
Right. But we haven't heard hide nor hair of it. Meanwhile, my other thing that came to mind was, man, Charlize Theron is everywhere now in superhero movies. Like, she was in Doctor Strange 2. She was
but she's always at the periphery flirting with those movies. She's never like in the movie. She's always like, hey, and passing through or peeking her head in. And then
that makes her kind of cooler. That kind of gives her a little more
fine. I don't think there's anything against it, but I'm like, what's the game, Charlize? To get in the game, or what? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, I feel like that gives her a little more.
It's fine. It's fine.
Street cred.
I remember seeing I was hanging out with a friend of mine a couple of years ago, and we saw a double feature. We saw Snow White. The Kristen Stewart Snow White, I think, and then we saw Prometheus, and I'm like, wait, I just saw Charlize Theron die twice today, and they're like completely inadvertently. I'm like, she said like this is the second time we're gonna watch her die, So it was strange, but that story goes to your assertions that she is a very prolific artist. She
was just in The Boys everywhere. Too. With that nice little cameo, and it was one of those tongue-in-cheek cameos, like this wink, nod.
That's what I'm talking about. She's always like on the side, like, "Hey, look."
But then you have like Fury Road, and they're developing a spin-off for her there, and they have.
That's not technically a comic book movie.
No, I get it, but I mean, she's also in in Fast and Furious. I mean, she's part of these big franchises, but meanwhile, I think she's won an Oscar. She's like the Liam Neeson of. A female Liam Neeson, I guess, is the best way I can think about it, right? Or the latest incarnation of what Liam Neeson became. Because think about it, Liam Neeson was Schindler's List, Oscar-winning, actor. Then he like kind of dipped his toe in the Star Wars universe, and then he just became like the ultimate badass action superstar in his later years. And Charlize Theron, obviously, not as old as Liam Neeson, but she's definitely past what you would consider. Like what a young prime actor's career would be in their 20s and 30s. I mean, so it's almost, she keeps reinventing herself, and now I feel like she's built up so much street cred and so much just, credibility is the best word I can come up with, congruency, that she manages to just amaze me. Like I see her in The Boys, and I'm like, yeah, that fits her now, man. That's her now, and so
Charlize can do whatever she wants.
Yeah,
she can be in my grocery store if she wants. Like, oh, look, it's Charlize Theron. And I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, hey, Charlize.
But what are you doing down in the Bronx? She'd be like, I'm Charlize Theron. Like,
Yes, I can do whatever I want. Thanks for giving my location away. But
and then she'll slap me and be like, "It's Theron, by the way," and then just leave. It's
she wouldn't
Theron,
slap
right?
me though, because I wouldn't even say her name. I'd
Is
be
it
like, "What's
Theron or
up?"
Theron?
You're the one
Like-
who just said so.
Like throne?
I'm not
look
getting into
up.
this debate. This
look
is
this
a
up.
rabbit hole.
How do you pronounce Charlize Theron? Let's see. Theron. Wait, how do you pronounce Ruhn? What? How would you read that? Rune or
Ruhn?
Theron?
Yeah, Rune. Yeah.
Theron. That doesn't make sense. I scoff at you, Google. I scoff deeply. All right.
I am abandoning you for this weirdness.
I protest against Google. All right. That was our list of Cold War movies, the best of all time. What is your list? We hope that has gotten you excited to go check out Seila Fire. It's painted a background picture for you. It's like I said, it's a 5-part novel series. It's fantastic. James Massier. You can go and also learn more about it directly from him in the companion podcast, which is up on our YouTube channel right now, youtube.com/Rogue Matter, facebook.com/We Are Rogue Matter. And coming up next, we do a double dose. We do a Rogue reaction and trailer Truth or Trash for Jurassic World Dominion. Right? Is World? Yeah. Coming up next. Welcome back to the Rogue Matter podcast, Rogue Wave podcast. We talk everything Rogue Matter. You can go check out all our cool stuff. We've got free stuff every Wednesday, including this podcast. We got more podcasts. We got comic books, ebooks, videos. Go check it out. It's awesome. All right. One of my favorite segments to do is to look at a film, give it a review, give it a Rogue reaction, give it a Rogue reaction. We're not going to really review it. We're going to talk about it. And then talk a little bit about afterwards whether or not it lived up to the trailer. So part 1 of 2, Rogue reaction, Jurassic World Dominion. I think my first question to you last week was, could I bring my 6-year-old son to the movie if I wanted to? I didn't, but and you know what? My first reaction to that after actually seeing it was, yeah, he would have been fine. He would have loved. By the way, spoilers, everybody. So spoiler centric reaction here. He would have loved the dinosaur battle at the end. Like, that would have been his favorite part. I know this for a fact. Like, if we walked out of the theater, he'd be like, "Oh, it was so cool." Because we have this book at home.
And now you've deprived him of that.
No, he gets to watch the movie. Just watch it. But the T-Rex versus the whatever the dinosaur that was, the Kingosaur, whatever the heck they, But I got to tell you, having
Spina dupletopolis-saur or whatever.
What's up with the Mothra one that
bigger
came in?
Than the Lastosaur. That's what that's what it's called.
Yeah, but what was up with like the Wolverine Freddy Krueger one? That one kind of came out of left field.
That was a hybrid one from the second one. But I don't know. But it's as they progress onward, right? The paleontology progresses onwards, and it more and more becomes apparent that dinosaurs were actually giant birds and not lizards.
They've been retconning them, though. You see that?
Yeah, of course. So everyone's been getting feathers, very slowly but surely. Feathers have been added to all the dinosaurs. So, it's fine. I'm all right with it. Yeah, I'm not trying to pronounce that, though, Aaron. That's why.
No, Gigantosaurus, that I think is exactly right. So it's funny, too, having, a 6-year-old son. Like 6 years old. He loves freaking dinosaurs. Like I think all 5, 6, and 7-year-olds just love dinosaurs, right? Like, it's just one of those things. You just go through this dinosaur phase as a kid. And so we've been reading nonstop dinosaur books. And so when they said that they had this other dinosaur come in, I was like, oh yeah, that's the one that I felt very learned. I was like, I knew what they were talking about. Yeah, Tyrannosaurus is not the biggest dinosaur and the most ferocious dinosaur. I don't think they lived together in the same period, but I'm sure
No.
I'm sure we're not exactly riveting our audience with my paleontology talk, but I just thought that was kind of amusing. What was your reaction to the film? Or do you want mine reaction first, and I'll tell you?
Yeah, you give your reaction.
Ambitious, right? Like if I had to think of one word when I watched that film, ambitious came to mind. Didn't always land, didn't always hit. There was a lot of plot there that, boy, they layered a lot on that cake that they didn't need to, with the locusts and
I see. That's, you know what, I'll get to that when it's my turn.
With the locusts and the biosin, and like the Steve Jobs meets Elon Musk guy, the Asian scientist who they never actually kind of explain why they built the locusts and set them free. They just kind of they're like, oh, it's a mistake. Oops.
They kind of did. They sort of did, but
they sort of did. But I mean, at the same time, you're sitting there going, why would they not? And then wouldn't they just like notify somebody? Like, it's like little things like that where you're like, I get why they didn't, because then they wouldn't have a movie, but they probably could have just gotten away with doing certain things where it would have been okay. But the reason I say ambitious, though, is this is the last movie in the trilogy, and this thing did two things really, really well. One, and the irony here is it's directed by Colin Trevorrow, who was supposed to direct Rise of Skywalker. I thought he actually did a nice job of merging the past with the present in terms of, having the old actors, Jeff Goldblum and company, Dr. Grant, all those people merging with the Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard cast, and kind of, creating something that worked well together, as opposed to, say, like Force Awakens, to where I thought I was literally watching two separate movies when we left Rey and Finn and introduced all the old characters. I almost thought it was like, wow, okay, this is a little too much, all at once. I thought he actually did a nice job of balancing the two. And so for that, I applaud him. But then the second thing I thought they did really well was this is supposed to be the last film of this trilogy with Chris Pratt and company. But they kind of set up a world, like a transmedia world, where they could have, it could almost be like Jurassic Park Presents and, Dubai. And it's like you have now dinosaurs living in the world now. And they have this dinosaur trade, and they have they've actually set up like a cool next movie, because I don't think you can do another Jurassic Park, or you have to wait 30 years to do another Jurassic Park, because it's the same story. You run the risk of becoming like a Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or Halloween, where it's like, okay, it's the same story again. Michael Myers is going to chop people up. Okay, it's the same story again. Dinosaurs are going to chop people up, are going to eat people. It's going to go amok. It always does. But now what they've kind of done, having dinosaurs living in our world, I'm like, man, I could see a trilogy or some sort of maybe spin-off TV show, a Jurassic Park, kind of thing, Dinotopia. It could, to where it actually now it's okay. This is kind of a cool world they built. Again, the movie didn't quite stick all the landings necessarily, and it was a little overly complicated than it had to be, but good, good show. They did a nice job in terms of setting up what comes next in a way that, could be super interesting.
So you liked it then, basically. You enjoyed it. You had a good time.
Yeah, I did. And then also, I would say sometimes when you watch a movie, Doctor Strange is a good example, right? I remember watching Doctor Strange 2, and immediately I was like, wow, that was really, really cool. And I walked away, and then you have time to like kind of think about it more, and you're like, yeah, there was this problem. That wasn't that great. And my enjoyment for it, I still enjoyed it, but like, after further contemplation, I didn't enjoy it as much. I've actually found that I'm enjoying this more. I walked out of the theater going, all right, that was pretty good. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, that was actually pretty cool. Yeah, no, that was pretty well done. So yeah, I would give it in the win column for this one.
I don't understand the hysteria around this movie. It was really weird to me, especially like in lieu. It almost seems like because Top Gun was so unexpectedly well received and did such a phenomenal job, that everyone thought that their responsibility was to temper expectations for Jurassic World, or to like either temper expectations or just plain put it down as like oh, the plot was kind of incoherent. It didn't make any sense. I'm like, have you seen the other Jurassic Park movies? I mean, basically, we shouldn't have made dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Is the theme of all 6 movies. We shouldn't have done this.
Yep.
And now we're dealing with the fact that we did this.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody cares about the plot of Jurassic Park. People cared about the plot of the book Jurassic Park.
Correct.
People
the first one was very interesting. I mean,
nobody cares. Nobody cares why dinosaurs were there.
Right.
People want dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That's all. Right? It's like years and years ago when Peter Jackson's King Kong came out, and someone said, "Well, the movie's terrible," and I was like, "Why? What was wrong with it?" It's like, it was too long. It was too long. That's why the movie's bad. Is there any other reason why? Was it bad acting? Was it bad scenes? Was there bad music? Were the effects bad? It's like, nah, it was just too long. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but there's an 18-foot gorilla that drop kicks a Tyrannosaurus Rex in this movie. Right. Yeah. Where's the boy in you? Like, that's all I wanted to see. That's and this is full on dinosaurs chasing people on motorcycles and dinosaurs, creeping up on people in swamps. One dinosaur actually does a finger flick towards a deer. And finger flicks a deer. I mean, I don't see, You don't see the downside. And clearly the box office doesn't see the issue either.
No.
Because it did extremely well.
Killed it, yeah.
But everyone was like, oh, this is it's got the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score for the franchise. It's set up to be the lowest opening of the franchise. Like, no, everybody, pundits, shut up. It's dinosaurs. Yeah. It's just dinosaurs, okay? The same with King Kong versus Godzilla. People like the giant monsters. It's very easy. You take your kids to see it. Everybody sits down. You watch one giant thing hit another giant thing. You go ooh and ah, eat popcorn, you go home. Nobody cares about the plot. Nobody cares about the plot. Now,
well, you want the plot to be
nobody cares. Nobody
good.
cares.
You want it to be entertaining. Well, no, because I think in the original franchise, like 2 and 3, it wasn't as riveting. The idea of just having dinosaurs on screen wasn't enough back then, or else the franchise would have continued.
No, it was enough because those 2 movies were $100 million movies at a time where $100 million movie was not a common thing. Those 2 movies were very successful.
Let's see.
Anyway,
Park 2.
As pertains to the plot, though, the plot's not that complicated. I don't understand why people saying the plot was overcooked.
It was overcooked.
They made giant locusts so that they controlled of this and that of the world, commerce, the food, or whatever. They misunderstood in the genetic makeup of those, so they got loose. It's the same problem with the Jurassic Park. It's the same plot, and now they have to figure out a way to get control of the locusts. Meantime,
so here's
people on the outside who are like, "Hey, there's giant locusts out here. We should go find out why there's giant locusts all of a sudden." And
here was my problem with that, and I'll tell you the one thing about that, and this is where I do side with the idea that it was overly complicated. Didn't need to be. It didn't eat the biosin seed, and then so you sat there going, well, part of me went, boy, how easy to make yourself a mark for the FBI or the CIA or some sort of law enforcement when you make something that doesn't eat your crops. Like, it's one of those obvious things where you're like, okay, but that turned out not to be the case. It had nothing to do with it, almost, in a sense.
That's what I'm talking about. Look, it's in keeping. It's bad. The plots are bad.
Yeah,
but they're all bad. There's always bad. Like science messed up, and now humans are paying for it. That's the plot of all 6 movies. Right. My point isn't that the plot's bad. My point is that people are like, the plot's overcooked. It's like, it's the same plot. It's the same. Right. It's the same plot. And the only thing you want to do is have it so that all these parties converge in this one place so that they can meet and have that weird, what would you call it? Guardians of the Galaxy ensemble cast at the end trying to run away from a giant dinosaur.
It also had the scientist who was like, I need to find the clone because she's the key for me to reversing this.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because they want clones.
It's the same plot. That's what I'm trying to say. It's and it's only one plot. That's the only one thing.
No, agreed. But it's not executed. It's not executed as
we're not talking about.
I am. I'm just saying that's why people would say it's overcooked.
I was saying, I'm not talking about the execution. I already copped to it, to the fact that it was poorly executed.
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't agree with the assertion that the plot was overcooked. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. I think that is a misrepresentation of it. I don't think it was overly complicated. I don't think it was an overly complicated movie by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
There are dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are loose. People trying to figure out what to do about dinosaurs being loose. Meantime, there's giant locusts. That's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Let's go find out where the giant locust came from. That's the whole movie.
All right. What do you guys think? What is your reaction to Jurassic World Dominion? And when we come back, we're going to take a quick short break. When we come back, we're going to do one of my favorite segments. We'll do a little trailer, truth or trash. Did it live up to the trailer? Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. We were talking Jurassic World Dominion. We gave our rogue reaction to it. Now we ask the most important question. Did it live up to the trailer? This is trailer, truth or trash. All right. Now I'm gonna try to faithfully narrate this. We're on a there's little girl. Oh, there's Chris Pratt. Like him, his hairline's going a little up there, but he's got the mustache. By the way, the stash is now back. Hassan, the stash is back.
The stash never went away. I don't know.
No, it went away.
Nah,
it went away.
It
Oh, little dinosaur. Oh, he just got shot into the air, and he got kidnapped. So, got some poachers. Oh, Blue is very upset. So is a very pregnant Bryce Dallas Howard.
Okay. All right, you go. I'll hang back.
You're gonna. Oh. They made it up. See, there you go. There's your plot right there. We made a terrible mistake. A lot of dinosaurs smashing cars, dinosaurs peeking their head through. Oh, dinosaurs are in people land.
Yes,
more dinosaurs getting free.
It's coming across to me that this is a dinosaur movie.
Yes. Oh, these raptors, they're chasing people with cars. Oh, the dinosaur just got clotheslined.
They don't understand physics.
I felt really bad in that scene. If you see, right there, that guy. I feel like he was one of the only innocent guys.
He was kind of a douche on a scooter, and those people deserve it.
You're absolving for that?
I absolve the dinosaur for that.
We've got Laura Dern. We've got the original Jeff Goldblum. We've got the originals. They're back. They found the little baby. Now the baby's on the back.
Yeah. What?
Chris Pratt's super cool. Jeff Goldblum's got fire. Little Jaws reenactment right there. By the way, we didn't talk about the pilot in the.
No, we didn't talk about much. But it is.
We talked for a long time. I don't know if we talked about much, but the pilot in this.
What is that?
That's another part. We'll get to that in a second. All right, we got the original cast. Everyone's pretty excited. Sam Neill. Yes, thank you. I couldn't think of his name. That was good.
See, not so bad.
Uh-oh. There comes Gigantosaurus.
Don't turn your back on a giant dinosaur.
No, you never do. You never
why
do.
People do that.
So I gotta tell you, just in regards to this trailer, this is the official trailer. This is how I do it. I literally just type in whatever the new movie name is, write official trailer, whatever comes up. So whatever Google tells me. So it's done by data. It's big data controls what the official trailer is, not what may or may not be the official trailer. That looked like the official trailer though.
Seemed like to me.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
So I got to tell you, that might win trailer, truth or trash as probably the most faithful truth to go from trailer to big screen, in the sense that there is nothing in that trailer that didn't set up expectations properly that the film did not end up executing.
Yeah, basically something went wrong with science. Dinosaurs are loose, and there's a problem. Yeah, it's pretty much.
It's not even not even.
The only thing that the trailer doesn't have is the giant locust.
Yes,
because I think if they showed us the giant locust, we'd be like, everyone would kind of be like, "Oh man, is this thing about like ecologist nightmare of this and that? And are they going to use the dinosaurs to control the locusts or something like that?" So I think it was a good idea to leave that plot out, because when that happened in the film, when I was watching the film, like, oh man. what are those? That was actually a surprise.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Actually, I guess in that sense, they didn't need to. They watching that trailer just brought back all the fuzzies of watching the movie.
The
Like
fuzzies. Okay.
The warm and fuzzies. Like I was like, yeah.
All right.
And again, it kind of speaks to what I said last segment too, which is this is a movie that I am enjoying more and more, even after walking out of the theater. Some movies, just to recap in case you guys weren't listening, some movies I'll watch and have a really positive overall experience with, and then the more I think about it as I leave the theater, the more I kind of wears away a little bit. This one didn't.
Yeah,
this one was
totally
like,
happy with it.
no.
It goes in the pantheon. It goes in with the other 5 movies. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's a good, and I'm pretty sure that's not the last one.
Yeah.
Especially if
It's the last one with Chris Pratt, though.
Well. Yeah, maybe. There was also a last one with Jeff Goldblum and a last one with Sam Neill, and they were both back. So obviously, not.
Yeah,
never say never.
That's very true as well. One thing we didn't touch upon was DeWanda Wise plays Kayla Watts. Very, confident, very watchable character as well. It's a new character. It's something they introduced a couple new characters in this, but I would say she was probably, besides Ramsey, who's the other character they kind of introduced. They added to the cast, and in something like this with an ensemble, you run the risk of being kind of overdoing it. But in this particular case, I thought she fit in pretty well with everything. The one thing I didn't love, though, was again, and it doesn't go back to plot; it goes to execution. I wasn't quite sure, or it just didn't hammer home the point of like, why would she risk her life for these people she's never met? And even Chris Pratt even asks her like midway through, and I feel like it was almost like the writer's mea culpa for being like, yeah, I got too much other stuff to do, so we just kind of went along with this. When he's like, you would just risk your life for no one? She's like, you're gonna ask questions? I'm like, well done, writer. Well done. You didn't actually make it a legit like team up, but you basically told me to F off, and I'm okay with it. You're like, that's what I would do as a writer. I would literally just say like, I don't have a reason. I don't have an explanation.
That's probably like one of those situations where the entire script was written.
Yeah. And
someone says, we need something else.
Yeah.
We need like more, it's like some kind of feisty something to go on, So, but I the original plot, they charter a pilot. The pilot takes them, and then they maybe jump out of the plane and end up in the giant dinosaur conservatory.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, well, why don't we just make the pilot part of the story? And then we'll have to go back and retcon her into and give her some kind of emotional anchor because she observed that their child was kidnapped and taken, and and it was like, wow, they just really shoehorned that in. But I think she was good enough of she didn't drown out either Chris Pratt or Bryce Dallas Howard. She kind of added to it, so it was a good addition, but it did feel like a tacked on addition.
Yes.
Like, let's just put this. We need something. Now it was a welcome addition. It's like kind of like adding Joe Pesci to Mel Gibson and Danny Glover kind of situation.
Yeah,
but it was definitely a wow. Where'd she come from?
She was she has a tremendous screen presence. She really resonates on screen.
The only thing that drove me crazy. Sorry.
Hey, go ahead.
Sorry. She got the exact same plane again at the end. Like, how do you find the exact same?
Amazon.
I've lost instruments. I have not been able to get the exact same bass guitar again, right? It just doesn't work that way. So you're going to tell me it's easier to find a plane than it is to find a bass guitar, an exact replica of the last bass guitar that you had? All right.
Amazon planes. That's it. You just type in planes, boom, gets delivered right to your door.
Apparently so.
Prime. I want it now. That's it.
Well,
that's what happened.
It should be prime for how much you end up spending for it, but fair enough.
So I know we said this already, but let's put an official bow. Did Jurassic World Dominion live up to the trailer? Truth or trash? Hassan, what do you think?
I say it's truth. It said dinosaurs. It said problems. It said people being eaten. It said it showcased a guy on a scooter getting eaten, which is fine with me. So It's all good.
Yeah,
I say
I think
truth.
it definitely. I think the trailer. I actually think the movie surpassed the trailer, because we've seen a lot of this kind of things before, and then to have it delivered and then watch the trailer again, I go, you know what? Well done, well done. All right, that is our
Agreed.
show for tonight. So next week's gonna be pretty cool. Let me tell you all about it in just a second here, because we've got we do have an actor coming up in a couple weeks, but we've got author Jason Stair. He is the creator of the most recent, the most brand new series at Rogue Matter. It is called Until I Die. Hassan is reading it as we speak. I've already read it. I'm trying to do this so we don't get into any kind of legal issues here, but it's a take on, well, F it. No one watches the podcast anyway. It basically says, what if the Brat Pack was just a cover for something deeper that went on in the 1950s and 60s, and someone who vaguely resembles Frank Sinatra was really working for the CIA. So I think that if that didn't whet your appetite for an awesome story, I don't know what does. I don't know what will. But we've got the creator behind it. And Jason himself has an amazing background. He is right now in Poland. Do you know why he's in Poland?
Because he's Polish?
No, he is in the U.S. military. He is stationed out there.
Okay.
Right now. And
still could be Polish though.
So, well, he could. You're right. Starkovsky? No, just Stare. So he's actually out there defending our country on the front lines. Right there where Ukraine and Russia and all this crazy stuff is happening right now.
of global activity right now.
Yeah. So in the meanwhile, in his downtime, he's like creating cool comic books and
that's what you got to do, man. That's where all the good stuff comes from.
Yeah.
Tolkien wrote The Hobbit while he was in World War I. So that's where all the good stuff comes from.
Cool. All right, this has been Rogue Wave. We will see you guys next week. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.